Now starting the show. Boom. Yo, Internet, welcome to TIGRadio number 29 or
29.
maybe 30. Rockin' intro theme song by Danny Baranowski. And our guest for the hour is Andy Schatz, who's been on the show before, but
sick.
Well
there he is.
That's the beer. Our default for when we're busy during the week is not to skip out of the show, but just to do a more of a podcast style show with a regular style friend and guest, and then shoot the shit for an hour or maybe half an hour if it doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, which you probably won't because it's Andy Schatz.
So yeah, you were saying right before we started recording that we were talking about Edmund McMillan's spoof of your office tour, and I thought it should have been a little bit tighter, a little bit more shot by shot, and you were saying that you were going to spoof their stuff.
Now that we're being recorded, now I really have to do it. If I say I'm going to do it, I shouldn't even say it because this ruins the joke if I say it out loud.
Well, don't do it then. Yeah,
fine. I won't do it. I'll just no. I'm not going to say it out loud.
Yeah, I actually think what you're talking about was like the psychological effect of stating the intention to do something gives you a little bit of satisfaction. Like the best analogy I have for that is like working on plans for a treehouse. Like when you're a kid, you have all these perfect plans on paper for the most amazing treehouse, and then at some point you actually never build the treehouse because making the plans are more fun. You see that a lot in indie games. I think a lot of people talk too much about their ideal project and never like young.
Yeah, I actually once knew a kid that talked about his strategy for peeing, and he died of urine poisoning because he would never do it.
That what? Wait. Oh, hold on.
He would talk about how he wanted to pee on everything.
Okay.
And that gave him the satisfaction of peeing, and so he just never even did it because he never needed the satisfaction of actually peeing.
I have a random question for you. How often do you leave the house?
Like for reals?
Yeah.
Well, as real as to keep the serious tone of this interview going, or I guess not interview anymore.
I just left the house to go do a little painting on my fancy new iPad, and I hate Apple, by the way. But I love this iPad. No, I have an iPad and an iPod. I don't like the Mac operating system much. But yeah, this iPad is awesome, and I was out painting on it, if you can call it painting, with the Brushes app, which is really cool. So how often do I leave the house? Not often enough. In fact, that's my actually sort of the biggest bane for me of being indie, that especially in the Ultimate Frisbee off season, which is generally my like physical outlet.
Yeah.
I tend to get pretty stir crazy because I'll not go out for the whole day, and it pretty much drives me crazy if I don't go out for the whole day, and the next day I'll be grumpy, so I'll have to take a break and go out and do stuff.
Have you looked into any kind of like co-working scenario for like San Diego?
Yeah, not like strongly. So I do. I have another indie buddy actually. The guys from Empty Clip that are here in San Diego, and so once a month or so we'll have lunch. But they're freaking so busy and they're always crunching, so we don't do it often enough. Yeah, no, I suppose I haven't looked into it for a while. Just before I started working on Monaco, I had a full-time employee that actually worked in my apartment. So that was, a total sort of a different issue altogether.
Yeah, that was on the Dinosaurtopia?
Yeah, Dinosauria. Yeah. And it was an odd situation because it's like when you have someone that works in your apartment, you kind of have to keep strict hours because you want to know when they're going to show up and when they're going to leave,
Yeah.
So we had to do kind of like pretty much straightforward business hours. And he would work from home once a week, which didn't really work all that well because he wasn't good at working from home. I don't know what he did, but he certainly got it a lot less done when he was working from home.
Was he an artist, or was he like also?
Yeah, he was an artist. He was a young artist, fresh out of art college, game art college. Really good. I don't want to disparage him at all, but everyone has their work quirks, and he definitely was not that good at getting stuff done from home.
Yeah. Like the early Flashbang days, we were out of our apartments for 5 years. And at the end of it, we actually had 4 adjacent apartments where it's like my apartment below me, next to me, and then below the next to me apartment. So we actually had holes through the walls and the ceiling, and we had like morning meetings and stuff. But certainly helps to have an office. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually don't get better or worse work done from my home office than a regular office. But having a regular office is just nice to get out of the house, Although I really like it here, so I don't know if that's even a good trade-off. Really, what I need is people that I work with that I really like. So,
yeah.
I mean, the only reason I'm talking to you guys right now is for company.
Yeah, this is your socialization.
Actually, kind of is.
30 or 40 people on the internet. Yeah, it's. I know that a lot of the SF indies are there's like an indie office going on there, and they even aside from that, they also have like an indie one day a week. I think they rotate hosting, and it's kind of like rotate people too, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You've actually been.
I mean, I should say that I'm married and my wife's home all the time, so that's not like it's not that sad.
He is married. I was there. Helping from that for the internet. But yeah, we've actually been opening up our office. So it's like when Steve split off to do Enemy Airship, he's still in the office. So like there's kind of 2 companies together, and then some of our friends come in and work too in kind of a co-working environment. But our office is pretty big. Anyone who went to the first 2 TIG jams has seen it, and it's like with like Flashbang is me and Ben right now. So we definitely don't need this much space, but at the same time, I really enjoy having a workspace where I don't browse the web and I just get work done.
Right.
So and the culture is nice.
Yeah, and we have a lot of routine built into the office where it's like we go to the coffee shop in the complex, and that's actually just in my mind to go talk about the latest video games and movies and kind of bullshit conversation. So that we're in the office, it's just headphones on, work time.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, motivation is I mean, it's got to be the number one issue for indie game developers, and it's the type of thing you need to be able to tackle. Not just motivation, but work habits. Because for the most part, I think the biggest thing holding back independent game developers is manpower, right? That we just don't have enough hours to be able to create the amount of content that we want to be able to create. Because we all have a billion ideas, and even if you don't want to make a game that has a ton of content, you want to be able to implement as many of the ideas as you possibly can, because that's the only way you're going to find the diamonds in the rough. Transforming your hours from or making sure that your work hours are really good work hours, and then being able to find as many of those truly inspired work hours as you can is the biggest issue for us.
Yeah, we've part of it was sort of my doing, but at Flashbang, we definitely experimented with all kinds of stuff. Like in the early days, I tried time boxing techniques like the Pomodoro stuff where you would start a timer for X minutes and then only single task, don't check email, don't check RSS. We've reduced our work hours. We actually still keep our hours reduced in terms of how much time we're actually in the office. But I even had a quiet time during the Blurst era that pissed off a lot of people. Like in 1 hour enforced quiet time. But it actually turned out that when we reduced work hours, we basically just, the whole workday became a de facto quiet time because everyone would just get work done. Oh, Tommy's around. We can bring him in. Uh-oh. Tom, yeah, so we can continue our conversation about how to work and not kill yourself.
Yes, yeah, speaking of which, exactly.
Hey, Tommy.
Hello.
Hi, Tommy. This is Edmund.
That's not Edmund.
Yes, it is.
Edmund has a much manlier voice.
Why are you not working right now? By the way,
I just woke up.
And since Microsoft is sending you the checks for Super Meat Boy, I want my half. My address is 4534 Maryland Street, San Diego, California, 92116.
Holy shit.
That's odd because I go to Santa Cruz when I visit you, Edmund.
Well, I have a P.O. box in San Diego.
Oh, that seems not true.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy. Bro, you got to wake up like 20 minutes earlier.
I know. I went to bed at like 1 p.m.
You idiot.
Yeah, I know.
You and Kyle Pulver both.
Yeah.
Are you crunching for like the Steam release, or is it kind of in the bag?
Well, yeah, it's basically done. I couldn't sleep and my sugar went low, so I played and finished Red Dead Redemption. So
Nice. How'd you like the ending?
pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Did you
At first, I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And then I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I killed everybody associated with everything.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, my husband's over here. Thanks. Blam.
Yeah. I tied that woman up and threw a Molotov at her.
Jesus Christ.
God damn.
Yeah, it was real healthy.
Andy.
Then the one guy, oh, it was so funny because I was gonna kill the other guy before the last guy, and he's sitting there, and then all of a sudden all these wolves come up and kill him. I didn't have to do anything.
That's life.
It was pretty awesome.
Life in the Wild West.
Andy.
Yeah, Back to the Future 3 was on yesterday, by the way, speaking of westerns.
Speaking of westerns.
It's awesome.
Ben has a question for you.
Andy.
Yeah, go. Yeah, McFly, what do you want?
How goes Monaco?
It goes great. Tommy and I actually had the first ever true not simulated internet game the other day.
Shit, nice.
which was totally sucky and broken. But it worked. Like we actually were, connected to each other and walking around in the same world.
Nice.
We were connected.
We were by the urethra. Tommy distended his and I inserted. Yeah, it's pretty gross, isn't it? We only did it that way because your urethra is narrower than mine.
Well, mine's an Audi. Every time I touch it, I cough. It's weird.
Yeah, Monaco's great. I've been working on the net code for a little while, so not a ton of new stuff to talk about lately because it's not, I'm not adding features. I'm just adding sort of net implemented stuff of what is already there. It's coming along.
Nice.
I'm going away next month. I'm not going to be around all month.
You're going to Shanghai for the whole month. When's the next time you're showing Monaco in like a public setting? I guess there's PAX East is after GT?
I am not going to do PAX East. I think it's too late to do PAX East at this point. And PAX, to be honest, PAX Prime was awesome, but so time consuming that I can't imagine doing 2 major trade shows a year by myself. And I wasn't even doing PAX Prime really by myself. Chris Hecker did a lot of it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I think that PAX Prime 2011 will probably be my next true public showing. Well, actually, that's not true. Right now, it's actually playable at Baby Castles in New York City.
Oh yeah, is that this weekend or?
It's going on right now.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess the build I sent them was buggy, which sucks because it's crashing. Not all the time, but occasionally. But also apparently people are playing it like mad, so that's good. And then I think PAX Prime is the next time, and then it'll be out. So
nice. Yeah, and as a random aside, that panel thing we talked about at Independent Game Summit is happening. So.
Oh, cool. Good.
We're gonna have to announce stuff by then, but.
That's no problem.
We'll talk more directly about that, not on broadcast.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Should we just talk in Morse code?
I've already figured it out.
Beep beep beep.
Spoil it on the chat.
Beep 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 beep.
Andy, how's the marriage going?
How's the marriage going? What kind of question is that?
Just shooting the shit, bro.
Apparently not well, seeing that answer was just thrown out.
What do you mean by that, Ben?
We're doing a honeymoon. So GDC invited me to speak in Shanghai, and so they were going to fly me over and put me up in a hotel, and we're like, hey, let's turn this into a honeymoon. So my parents were generous enough to offer to pay for a honeymoon, and since I'm already got a flight for free, we figured, well, maybe we can actually afford to have both of us go. So we're going over there. We're going to Shanghai and then Bangkok, and then gonna go island hopping and learn to scuba dive in Thailand. So
Nice.
You should talk to Ron Carmel about Thailand because he spent some time there.
Oh, really? I will.
So he might have some travel tips for you, or like where to go.
Cool.
If you want to murder something in Thailand, you probably could.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
right price.
If I want to watch my newlywed wife have sex with a 15-year-old girl, I probably could do that too.
Dude, you should take advantage of that.
We're gonna get in trouble. Shut up.
Ben really wants to eat human meat and wants to organize an expedition to like Laos or.
Yeah, there's already a good group going.
I think you need to go more third world than Thailand. You're gonna have to go like.
That's true.
Something.
You want to go eat human meat?
I don't think you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see a ping pong show there. I mean, or if you want to go to like a classier one, you could go to a table tennis show.
What? A table tennis show to eat human meat?
Oh, you don't know what a ping pong show is.
No.
Oh, I know. What a ping pong show.
Oh! I've heard it called different things, but I'm not gonna do that. I want to find like a rad, like high-end gangster restaurant that serves human meat like on the top floor, and it's really classy and dark, and people are eating scorpions and shit.
I ate a scorpion coming back from Phoenix a little while ago.
On purpose?
Yeah, well, it was I didn't totally eat it. It was just my wife got me one of those lollipops with a scorpion
right.
embedded.
Yeah.
It's funny though, feeling that like as the lollipop part came down, like soaked down or whatever, melted down, I could feel the stinger like poking me in the tongue.
Hey, forest creatures, it's time for our forest race. Everybody grab your tail.
Scorpion, it's your turn.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Tommy. So what's in your mind these days? What's the world of Tommy looking like?
Irritated.
That's
yeah,
surprising.
that's unusual.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom's side of the family, my aunt in particular, she's being a real bitch to my mom. And anyone that's a bitch to my mom is automatically like total shit in my book. I don't care if I'm related to them or what.
Do you actually have a book?
A book? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's huge.
Of people that are bitches to your mom, or just people that you're pissed at?
Yeah, people that are shit. It's my shit book.
Not just people that are bitches to your mom. Because if you have a whole book of people that are bitches to your mom's probably kind of a bitch.
No. There's like 3 people that have been bitchy to my mom, and yeah, that's it. One of them's my aunt. She got mad. This is why she got mad. This is irritating. So she like found her long lost daughter from like a long time ago or whatever. I won't go into the details of why she was long lost, but needless to say, my grandmother is a fucking bitch. Anyway.
Your grandfather just answered you in his book.
No. My grandfather was awesome, but when he died, my grandmother down in Florida, well, she's always a bitch. She's actually like the reason I have diabetes. Like, it's fucked up. It's totally fucked up. I hate her. She's a stupid bitch. Anyway, so my aunt found her like long lost daughter or whatever, and they're like, oh, we're all going to this place and to have like a little family reunion. And during that time, my mom was working like this crazy stressful job, and she wanted to save time so she could go to Meat Boy launch party, which at that time was going to be like in December or something. So she couldn't take the time out. This was like in August when all this was happening. So she couldn't take the time off. Well, since then, my aunt hasn't talked to my mom, and then like just the other day, she calls her up, and she's like, I'm upset that you didn't come to this thing. And my mom goes, well, this, I wanted to make sure I had the time so I could go to this Meat Boy thing, because this is like the most important thing in my son's life. And she's like, oh, well, I kind of expected you to be a little more interested in my life. She's just kind of a bitch.
What'd be awesome, Tommy?
Huh?
If you were actually inbred and your mom and your aunt were the same person, and you're all pissed because she's actually schizophrenic and her 2 sides were arguing with herself about whether or not she could go to the Super Meat Boy thing, and you're really pissed at her personality that wouldn't allow her to go.
Let me tell you something. It's not true, but that could very well be a possibility with how fucked up my grandmother is.
It's like a Fight Club thing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, but But yeah, other than that, I'm perfectly happy. It's just when I hear my mom sad, all I see is red, and I just want to claw at people until they die.
That might be a blood clot in your eyeball. So, hey, on the air, how is Meat Boy selling wise numbers things?
It's doing very, very well. We are extremely happy. It's one of those things where like if we would have released in the summer, we would have done like phenomenally well. And I mean, we're doing like super, super well right now. Like there's the only complaints we have are kind of from stupid dealings with Microsoft, but sales wise, we have kicked so much fucking ass. It's insane. And then it is evened off now. So it actually like every day for the past week, it's slightly gone up. Like it's staying at this one like constant number every single day, and it makes us both very happy.
Nice. So when you come to Vegas for New Year's, what are you going to spend that money on?
Make it rain. I'm gonna spend it on whores. Do they have whores in Vegas? They got whores.
You have to go outside the city limits for proper
horse.
There's a particular. It's the Wild Mustang Ranch or something like that. There's a particular place that is famous.
Well, there's also the Bunny Ranch, which has its own airstrip.
Oh, really?
Does it really?
Yeah.
I saw that one on what was that on Showtime? Didn't they have like that show, that Bunny Ranch show, like a long time ago or something? Didn't they have that?
I don't remember.
I remember.
I'll be honest. I spaced out a little bit during your question.
Oh, are we a little up there?
No, Ben and I are still at the office. We've been working on crunch for our contract job.
Oh, so that's how you say it, crunch.
Whoa.
Do
you want to hear us kiss on the microphone?
Kind of.
Don't do that.
What were we talking about?
Can I address an on-topic question that
yes.
that one of the guys on the chat channel keeps yelling at me for, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Mr. Anonymous Ustreamer, with regards to a demo, this is a question actually I get bothered by all the time on the web, about whether or not I can release a demo before the game is out. So I want to answer you because I like you. You're a nice guy, or lady. So here's the deal. Monaco does not yet have a release platform. I expect to release it on at least one console in addition to a PC. Until I know what console the game comes out on, I can't do anything with regards to committing to release dates, with releasing an early demo or an early alpha, or start selling pre-releases. Basically, my hands are totally tied until I figure that out. The problem is that the first time when I pitched the game, right after it won the IGF, and it was only 15 weeks of work, I wasn't getting enough enthusiasm from the console companies to continue to try and work on one of those deals. So I decided to just work on the game without knowing what my eventual distributor would be until I felt like it was a total home run slam dunk. And so it's getting close to that. And I have started talking to console people again. But until I actually know what platform the game is out on, for instance, let's say the game came on an Xbox Live Arcade. Let's just imagine.
So it's coming on Xbox Live.
Yeah, right. Thanks. let's say it was. I got a deal with them to come out on XBLA and on PC, right? And I'm planning on putting it on PC. I can't put out some sort of like pre-release early demo thing on the PC because Microsoft doesn't want me to start selling pre-release things because it might cannibalize their XBLA sales or something along those lines. So basically, I would like to do all of those things, and I would like to follow in the footsteps of Minecraft and Overgrowth and all of those types of guys. But the fact of the matter is, when you're dealing with console companies, not all those things are always possible. And I really wish they were. But it's just a sort of a limitation of working with the console companies. So that's the way it is.
Hey, Andy, I have a trick question for you.
Go for it.
What technology is Monaco coded with?
It's built in C#, and
clever answer.
Yep. So it will be on whatever platform it ends up on. I don't know. There's always a possibility it'll be PC only. if everyone is a dick to me.
So what is the release date?
Tommy.
No. Okay.
Hey Tommy, where's Meat Boy PS3?
I will kill you in your sleep.
You don't know where I sleep.
I know where you sleep.
I sleep in a different place every night.
Hey Tommy, Explosion
like you.
Explosion Man, the next hidden character.
Yeah. And Mario, and we got Mega Man somehow. And Ken and Ryu are in it, and God of War.
The god himself.
Yeah, just the
guy
god.
From Assassin's Creed, the assassin.
Yeah.
And from the chat channel, Master Chief is going to be in it.
Master Chef. Master Chef is going to be in it too.
The knockoff Korean version.
Yeah. His helmet's blue.
Whatever. Master Chief is a knockoff of like every other character, like anonymous character.
Excuse me. Are you saying that Halo is not original?
I actually saw Halo when it was about like a year into development in 1998.
Really?
It was maybe 6. Yeah. I interviewed I was living in Chicago for a summer during college, and I interviewed for an internship at Bungie.
Back when they made good games like Myth.
Hey.
This is actually right after the last Myth, and they were starting to work on Halo. They hadn't yet hooked up with Microsoft, and it was actually a top-down, like way up in the sky, third-person sort of almost brawler type game back then. But they did in fact have the same character. They had the Warthog, exactly the same, and the environment looked the same. It's just that the camera was pulled way up in the sky. So it's actually kind of really interesting. Supposedly they said that they liked me and they wanted to hire me, but I wasn't going to be there long enough to make it worth it. But you can interpret that however you want. But
you worked for Bungie.
No, I didn't actually get the job. They said
no. Oh, because you told me I could interpret it how I wanted. So I did the journalism thing, and you said work and Bungie in the same sentence. So I figured you worked at Bungie.
Right, exactly. I did. How's the Explosion Man implementation going?
Very good. We actually got them to do full 3D models, and now the game is 3D.
Half of every sentence so far the show has been a lie. But yeah, not every other sentence.
Which half of that sentence?
Yeah, it's half of each sentence.
Which half of that sentence?
Both.
All of them.
No.
All halves.
This sentence is a lie.
Ben wants to wrap it up at the half-an-hour mark, but I think we should push through for an hour of insight.
Yeah, will Super Meat Boy be gracing the Mac App Store? It's a good question.
Is there a Mac App Store?
Yeah, they're launching one. They announced it at their recent Back to Mac press day. So it's going to be built into the next version of macOS, and they're launching it as a standalone client with some.
Yeah, probably.
I actually think the Mac App Store is going to be an amazing thing for people making smaller games because you can actually sell stuff at $3, $5, $1, which you just cannot do on the open internet with any kind of system.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm doing a Mac version. I was just planning mainly on Steam and sell it off our site. But yeah, if they have a store or whatever, I don't care. I'm going to do it. I won't say that I'm happy about doing it, but I want everyone that buys the Mac to know how much I didn't want to do it. So
had a splash screen like buy a PC.
I'm assuming, by the way, that the iPad specs are below the Wii specs, significantly below. But does anyone know how much below, or how they compare to one another?
iPad is likely more powerful than the Wii.
Are you serious?
Well, the iPad has a faster processor, but the GPU in the Wii is fucking powerful. It is really, really powerful.
Yeah, like the Wii is still fixed function, so you can just crap out a bunch of shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to make a Super Meat Boy for the iPad?
Never. Even if it had the most powerful graphics card and powerful processor ever, it's not possible.
All right.
Why is
You know why?
Hardware controls.
Do I care?
Yeah.
You asked.
Yeah, what the fuck? You asked.
Whatever. I'm
Yeah.
already drinking beer.
I feel like I'm on between two ferns.
Well, you don't know. You haven't done a touch interface for it. You might actually be able to come up with an interesting touch interface that would actually work.
Nope.
All right.
What if you had an iPad version that was slowed down by like 4 times?
What if I had an iPad that had buttons? What about that?
You just blew all of our minds.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey Tommy, what do you think about the Rage Engine stuff on iPad?
Yeah, I mean, kind of in that John Carmack's little engine.
Yeah, well, it's not Rage itself, but it's like he did some work in the iPad that used some of the mega texturing techniques and everything else. They released a game where you could actually has like it's a on rails shooter of some kind, but it's like it's more
I heard about
than anything.
Yeah, that's old Johnny Carmack. He likes to put his engine on. Johnny C likes to put his engine on fucking everything.
Johnny
C.
Wasn't
a surprise. Wasn't a surprise that would come out, but I haven't played it. I'm gonna wager that it sucks but looks amazing.
Yeah,
the actual game is. Yeah, it's kind of like the old arcade shooters where the camera kind of moves around for you and you just shoot on shit.
So Matthew and Ben, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
What are you doing when you're done with your contract work?
Oh shit.
So we should be done with it on Wednesday, and then we get our second payment, which is like a good chunk of change each. So I should end the year with enough money in my savings account for a year of expenses, even if my income turns off. So nice. I'd like to spend like a week a month on continual contract work just to not dip into my savings, and then work with Ben on Aztez, his beat 'em up, work on something else, maybe iPad ports of some Blurst games just for Tommy. And then like a week a month on photography and shit.
The Squid one, I think would work fine on the iPad.
Yeah. I'd like to do blush on. I'd like to do a really goofy version of China Shop, and I actually ported China Shop to the iPad just to see how well it would run. And it actually runs reasonably well. It kind of chokes when you tip over a shelf that has like 100 objects on it, but I mean that's to be expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, it actually took me less than an hour to port it, and that included the upgrade to Unity 3.0, which changes a lot of stuff. And now I stroke on wine, so it's kind of amazing just to port. Like, you know, if you use a technology that is abstracted away through mono, it's just like, well, my mono scripts are running, and who cares what platform it's on. But I actually want to make the China Shop controls like a really goofy tank style controls where there's like 2 massive legs with hooves on them, and then you move your thumbs up and down like the old tank games to like turn them left and right. It's like 1 up, 1 down.
Nice.
It'd be cool actually to have it be like you actually walk around like you have if you put 2 fingers on the pad, that's where the legs would stand, and you actually will walk around with a little guy.
Oh God, yeah.
I had an idea for an iPad game the other day. What I want is I want chess, but I want all the pieces to be like physically modeled. So if you like tilt the iPad, they all fall off the table.
So you can like basically like rage the game if you want.
Yeah.
It's like a real chess.
Physics chess. You know, you like move them. You know, you can knock over pieces and stuff, but it has to stay flat on the table, because if you like hold it in bed or something, all of the pieces just like fall. You can't play it unless it's flat on the ground.
All right, I have a related question. This is a question for each of you separately. What's the best game you've designed or thought of that you will never make?
It's a game about a dinosaur ecosystem.
God damn it!
No, I actually really want to make a Facebook dinosaur pet game where you I found some eggs. Well, I wonder what they are. Oh, they're cute little velociraptors. And then like later in your life, you have to like feed them cows, and it's just a horrifying experience to keep your your velociraptors alive, or whatever it might be. And then you just take care of it. It's like a pet game. It's not cute but horrifying.
All right, I like it. Tommy, Ben.
Ben's making the thinking face, and I've never seen this face. I'm just kidding, Ben. Oh no, he's making the I hate you, Matthew face, which I see quite regularly.
Yeah.
I see that face every day.
Mine that I'll probably never make is a strategy game where every single time anything's about to happen, right before it actually happens, you have to make a choice from like 7 different probabilities, but so does the other person you're playing against, and you try to basically outbluff each other with possible solutions to this particular conflict. It's inspired by me and Kyle having like delirious late night IM conversations.
Huh. That sounds cool, actually. Seriously. Well, how is it themed? Like, how do you imagine it being themed?
Like ridiculous space battles where planets blow up and shit.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. All right, Tommy.
Do you remember the 3rd level of Battletoads when you would dodge those little rock things and jump over that stuff?
No, never played.
Speeder bikes?
Yeah. It got faster.
There's a
faster
fourth on the 10th one in the end, or 13th. I always forget.
Yeah. It was you would always hit it because you normally didn't have a choice because you were going to die. But yeah, I wanted to make a game, and I actually did start on it after Goo got all rejected by Sony and stuff. And it was a 3D racing game where you just race in a like a particle accelerator, and there's objects, and you have this HUD that like shows you objects off in the distance, and every time you pass one, you start to go just a little bit faster, and like the closer you are to dodge them, the faster you get. So it's just like a total like twitch reflex game, and it's just an arcade kind of high score thing. Like,
nice.
How quick are you?
I want to make it.
Did you ever play Skyroads on PC?
No, I never played that.
Oh shit! I played Skyroads.
Skyroads was awesome, but yeah, it was just like a 3D sort of isometric vanishing point racer, but it got fucking ridiculously hard.
It was isometric.
Well, I mean,
it was like behind the racer, right?
Yeah, it was like kind of behind the racer, but it wasn't like a true projection.
Right, where you like jump over gaps and shit.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
So what's kind of funny and revealing about each of your questions or answers, and this isn't something that I was like thinking of beforehand. Matthew's game is one which is probably a short experience and ridiculously themed, and the point of the game is sort of it's sort of the punchline, which is, I would say, similar to a lot of the Blurst games. Well, it's true, and Tommy's game is a Twitch action reflex game. And Ben's game, from what I know of Ben, which is not much outside of the bedroom, he loves StarCraft, and it sounds StarCraft-ish. And so it's actually, I don't know, those answers actually, you probably weren't intending them to be, but they were somewhat revealing of sort of your taste in game development, it seems.
So what's yours, Andy? Schatz?
And
Schatz?
And I say that without having had, without having something in particular in mind, but there's a bunch of board games that I would like to make.
Nice.
In fact, there's a bunch of board games that I was kind of designing before I started on Monaco, that will probably never be published. But board game design is really freaking fun for me because I really like systems design and like building the systems. And I think the thing that I'm not always as good at is sort of experiential design, if that makes any sense. Something that, and so like I was designing like an evolution-based card game that was a dinosaur game, in which, well, I'll just describe it if you don't mind. It's like you have one deck that's like your environment deck. And you have a deck that's the dinosaur deck, and you have a certain number of dinosaurs in your hand, and you can only play like some of the dinosaurs each have like 3 different stats, like strength, speed, and food or something like that. And you can only place the ones into the environment that are weak at the beginning of the game, and the environment is small because each turn you flip over a new environment card, and they start to sort of stack up, and so you have more and more environments with different types of plants in them. For your dinosaurs to eat, and then occasionally you have disasters that actually destroy parts of the environment and whatever dinosaurs are in those environments. So it's like the environment is constantly growing but sometimes shrinking, and so basically you're trying to place dinosaurs into the world and then slowly evolve those dinosaurs to control sort of the growing ecosystem of the planet. So I don't know. There's that, and I designed a couple other games around other concepts based on my older games, and They're just really fun to build.
That sounds fun as fuck.
There's actually a comment in the chat called saying check out Dominant Species, and yes, another friend of mine who loves board games actually just forwarded that to me like yesterday, and supposedly it's really good. So
nice. And for the racing game, you should, look up. I think it's probably Prown is how it's pronounced. It's like noun but with a PR.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's Juice's game. It's kind of like racing on a tube, and then on the tube.
Yeah. When I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of it. But yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I watched the video. I want to play it.
I think Hampa had a crazy racing game like that too. The Tory Bosch guy. It's like a weird motorcycle stunting, racing, fast-paced, crazy game.
Yeah.
Along the lines of like cool games I'd like to see made, I was talking to Matthew about this earlier. I got a chance to check out the new Assassin's Creed multiplayer, and the idea is really similar to Spy Party in that you're in an environment with lots of characters that look just like your character, and all of the other players are all hunting for each other, but there is a huge chance of you accidentally killing a non-player controlled version of your character. So you're basically acting like AI controlled characters so that you don't get noticed and killed. And I was just talking to Matthew about how cool it'd be to see more games based on deception, like lying to people and tricking them and getting your way with, just like flat out deception. Have you guys ever played that game Werewolf?
No.
They're like vampires. It's kind of like it's an offline game where you have 10 people in a group and then.
Oh, it's like Mafia.
Yeah.
Or Witch Hunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of different names for it.
Yeah, that kind of shit's what I'm talking about. It'd be cool to see more games built like that where you'll do better the better you can lie and cheat and trick people.
Yeah, there's not many games, and actually, one reason I dislike StarCraft 2 is that it doesn't have any element of bluffing. Like, I mean, there's a couple. It's like hallucination in the Protoss or whatever, but nobody ever leads somebody on to think that they're going all air, and then it turns out to be a big trap, and they show up with a bunch of siege tanks or whatever.
I've done that once.
Awful.
I've actually done that once. Someone I noticed that someone scouted my something or other. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, you did like a tech switch.
And when I don't know what it was. So yeah, exactly. And so as a Terran, you can actually quickly switch what type of tech you're producing. So, so I switched over to whatever the other one was, and he came out strong with whatever counter it was to the thing that he'd scouted, and I ripped him a new one.
Nice.
But you're right. That doesn't happen very often. It's only happened to be once.
Yeah, I mean, someone in the chat pointed out you can cancel buildings, but the level of bluffing in StarCraft 2 is not anywhere near the level of bluffing in a game that's designed around bluffing.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually have a bunch of Netrunner cards at the office, which is a Richard Garfield game, I think immediately after Magic, before he did Jihad. And like the game is basically based around bluffing. Like you have to pretend that there are things that are not there in order to win well.
Yeah. Super good game.
But yeah, it's just I wish people would design. I mean, even if you look at designs that are farther back, like any game like XCOM, it feels like people have stopped designing outside of genres, like the mainstream industry especially, and even indies.
Right.
I think design platformer twists. And nothing against people that I want to make the best version of the game that I liked when I was young. It's just I don't know. Yeah,
there's a lot of reasons why people make platformers, and it's not just that. Platformers are I've never been a platformer guy at all. And every time I go to design a game, I'd say 50% of the games that I think about end up being just from that perspective. Because it's really easy to make the art look really good quickly from a side-scrolling perspective.
Yeah.
So it's a really sort of friendly platform for an indie game. And then B, there is a lot of technology that already supports that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to like rip on Tommy accidentally. Actually,
I'm not really even paying. I'm arguing with somebody on the judges thing in the IGF.
Oh, nice.
Speaking of IGF, I don't know if this is something you already talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, but did you guys talk about what you guys thought were the favorites to win this year?
No, we talked last show, which was I guess 2 weeks ago, because I was flying somewhere. I forget where. Oh yeah.
No, I was just flying somewhere.
I was in a plane. We talked a little bit about just the process, because this year everything is jury-based and not voting-based.
So do you guys have favorites?
None of the games I got are interesting at all.
That's about. I've judged 2 different times, and this year I got a bunch of awesome games.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Last time I got no awesome games, or I got one. Xenoclash was the only one that actually got nominated the year that I judged.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't spent too much time looking through the entries, to be totally honest, partly because I'm not as involved this year, like logistically speaking, and partly because we've been buried in contract work.
Sure. Yeah, and I certainly don't want to have people say like what they think is going to win from knowing what the judges are saying, but from a sort of just, I guess, outsider's perspective of what you think might win. I don't know. Maybe that's not maybe it's not appropriate to talk about.
Maybe that's not an appropriate discussion. No, I actually think that there are about as many good games this year. Like the entry numbers go up significantly, but I actually think that the number of quality games only goes up incrementally. Partly because it's like if there are only like 5% of the games that are entered are truly, and I don't mean to say like the other ones are crap, but a lot of people enter a lot of really unfinished games.
Right.
So sure, there's like 391 entries or whatever, but a lot of them are people that were using the IGF as a deadline, and I mean, really, even out of their mouths, they will say that they don't really have any hopes or whatever.
Right.
So I mean, if there may be 5 or 10% games entered that are like really competitive, then if you go up, 50 entries, you're really only going up like maybe 2 or 3 sort of feasible sort of competitors. I don't know.
You know who should have IGF but didn't because he's an idiot?
Who?
Adam Saltzman.
Yeah, well, we've had that discussion too.
What for what?
Oh, just people opting out of entering the IGF.
Oh yeah, he always opts out.
Yeah, because it's basically people that view the IGF more as sort of a scholarship and less as a
right.
That is the exact argument I'm having right now.
Oh, the judges on the game.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
On the tubes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a whole big back and forth, and it just makes me want to fucking scream.
Yeah, I'm actually curious which judges are and what viewpoint.
Yeah, me too.
Don't talk about it too publicly.
I'm not going to say anything publicly.
Yeah, just paste me the link. Rand asked if the game has to be released to compete in the IGF. I only foresee that as a possibility, just as a filtering mechanism. But at the same time, I actually don't know if it's worthwhile because part of the implicit goal of the IGF is to sort of highlight games that are growing the medium. Games that aren't the latest and greatest shooter, World War II, trenches, whatever the hell theme. And I think there are a lot of interesting games that might never be commercial games. And then if we say it has to be released, it's a really soft thing. It's like, well, I put out a public beta on ModDB, or there was a link on Indie Games. Is that released?
Well, you could just say whatever version goes up on IGF. Well, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's not a hard line as people might expect. And people are like, well, I mean, it'd be great if everything was a commercially released game, but at the same time, that
I think that's a bad.
I think I can say that I certainly can say that if I were a just general gamer or someone who followed the indie games in general, would be sort of bothered by the fact that Monaco is now a year after it won and it's still not out, and I certainly didn't expect for it to win. But you do have to understand that it was very early in development when I entered the IGF. It was literally 6 weeks into development when I entered, so I wasn't actually expecting it to win. And then when it won, it's true that if I hadn't won the IGF, I probably would have put out that early version rather than going back and building it into a much bigger game. And so in a sense, the IGF actually is making it take much longer to come out. But yeah, that said, it's the IGF is a really cool thing for people working on their little game at home, and which is exactly the situation I was in. And if the IGF didn't exist, I probably would not be an independent game developer right now. I would probably have a job somewhere because I wouldn't have had the exposure that Monaco gave me, and so there you go.
At Bungie.
Working at Bungie.
Do you feel like the exposure was a practical business thing where the publishing discussions you've had and the sort of the financial discussions you've had wouldn't have occurred, or do you feel like a lot of it was actually motivational, kind of internal? No, I can actually make this happen. I can do this thing. Sort of practical versus emotional, I guess.
I would say it's more than 50% practical.
Yeah.
That I mean, I would love to just I would have loved to make any game that I really enjoy working on a big cool game. But the question is whether or not you have the confidence that when it comes out, is it going to slip under the radar or is it going to be a big deal, right? And so when it won the IGF, it gave me a lot more confidence that I could spend a lot more time on it and make my investment back, basically, because I would love to put that kind of investment into any game that I enjoy making. So that's definitely, I would say, that the majority of it. But there's certainly part of it that is,
So IGF is the poster of the hot girl that you put above your bench press. So you're like, oh, sweating it out.
No. See, for me, IGF is the picture of the girl I keep in my wallet and I cry at every once in a while.
Oh, sorry, Tommy.
I want my Lifetime Achievement Award. Who knows when I'm going to die? Give me that.
Tommy, how long have you been indie? Because you always whine about this, and I want you to shut the hell up.
What do you mean?
How long have you been indie?
Indie what? Because I've done contract work for fucking ever.
How long have you been making your own games as an independent developer?
I don't know.
Selling them.
Oh, and selling them. Oh, I haven't sold.
If you want to put it for sold. Well, okay, Goo. When did you start working on Goo?
That was 2005.
2005.
Yeah.
All right.
I haven't had a paycheck in a long time. Hey, I suffer, God damn it! You people with your pancreases. Oh, I didn't win the IGF. Let me have a piece of cake. No, I didn't win the IGF. I got to have a drink of water.
So, Tommy, I was a finalist in 2006. I started in December of 2004 as an indie, and I won in 2010. You were a finalist in 2007, if I remember correctly, for Goo. And then in 2008. And then you made a fortune, or you are in the process of making a fortune on Super Meat Boy. So shut the fuck up.
Hey, money doesn't mean anything because money goes away. Trophies stay on your mantle forever.
Shut the hell up.
Okay, money means
awesome.
Everything.
Yeah, you're gonna have a hard time maintaining your starving programmer identity as soon as you have like a
No. I don't think I have a starving program. I think I have an angry programmer mentality.
Starving and angry.
Starving, a hungry, angry programmer. Oh, shut up.
Oh, so true.
I concur.
I'm actually a little.
You know what the real kick in the pants is? I'm going to tell you what the kick in the pants is. The trophies are orange, which is my favorite color. Favorite.
I don't think they'll be orange this year. They're only orange like the last 2 years.
Take one of Dan Tabar's trophies. He didn't earn them.
Yeah, I know.
God damn. I actually feel your pain a little bit, Tommy, because I've always felt like Flashbang has been lapped by all these new people. Flashbang's 7.5 years old, maybe 8 now. I lose track of these things, and we've never made a fortune. We've never. Lately, I've been using the analogy of like escape velocity. Like all of the rockets that we built have either blown up on the launch pad, killing all of our scientists, like Brazil, or we kind of launch it into orbit and then it explodes before it reaches orbit, like so much kindergarten teacher. Classiest analogy maker ever. I actually feel like to this day we are not. Like my options really are to do some continual contract work, or to invest whatever money I can scrounge together into making some kind of rocket designed to hit escape velocity, an XBLA release or a highly popular Facebook game or something.
We just have to make one rad game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, yeah. But even then, I think most people who have become successful are actually, the overnight story angle is always overblown. Like even Notch was 10 years of work.
Yeah, he was working on
You're also young, Matthew. Matthew, you're young.
I'm not that young. I'm 43.
You're young. You are not 43. You're like 23.
No, I'm 30. I don't think 30. Well, I mean, 30 is certainly young compared to geezers like yourself. What are you, 33?
Yeah. Wow.
I'm 32. I actually thought you were younger than that, Matthew.
No, I know. I actually thought you were in your 20s.
I thought you were 14 tops.
No, yeah.
That's the only reason I haven't had sex with you yet.
Both of you need to keep voices down.
You were walking into a minefield with sex and age jokes. I'm just going to point that out.
Yeah, I know. I've never been on a Skype call or anything where so much underage sex has been talked about.
No, I'm just. And Andy's wife is a little bit younger than he is.
He's actually younger than me.
But no, I'm 30, so thank you for your inadvertent compliment.
Oh, yeah. How old is Tommy? How old's Ben, now that I'm asking?
Ben's a little bit younger. Ben's like 16.
Yeah, I'm 16 and a half.
No, 16 and 3/4. No, I think Ben is, what, 24?
26.
Oh, shit.
He's got the shorn scrotum of a 12-year-old, though.
Shorn scrotum?
Finding and maintaining connections for contract work. So, yeah.
My sister just posted on my Facebook wall today that Bed Bath & Beyond has a, hold on, I'm going to look up what it's actually called because that's the best part of it.
Okay, well, while you look that up, I'm going to answer Rand's question.
It's called a man groomer. And it's a man groomer registered trademark. It's a professional rechargeable electric back hair shaver. Nice. With an extendable handle.
I don't have any back hair.
I wish I could grow hair on my head.
We need to.
I can grow it on my balls and my back.
Podcast thing is bullshit. So yeah, I was going to answer Rand's question about contract work. So we've actually doing. I personally have been doing a fair amount of contract work. So some of the stuff I've been doing has actually been for the Game Developers Conference. Like I'm redoing their backend proposal system. The other stuff we've been doing, people have approached us. Like the one we're doing now is an iPhone game for an energy drink company as the end client, and the company who's in the middle company came to us because they like Raptor Safari, and they wanted a Unity-made game. But yeah, we've been around long enough that people have inadvertently thought that we were well established, which is untrue.
That is a long time. You guys have been around longer than well, most indies.
Well, a lot of what it was is we had these black polos with Flashbang logos that we bought like 7 years ago. And if you just go to GDC year in and year out, and we were active in the casual market. We used to go to Casual Connect. People just start to assume that you've made it, and really it was just tenacity. Flashbang paid out like $2,000 a month during the worst era, and no salaries before and after. So it's not like people are just like, oh, you must have made it. You guys must, millions of dollars, right? I'm like, no. Yeah, like even I was talking to somebody on the advisory board who recently sold a company, and he was like, yeah, well, it's great that you guys are just doing like the lifestyle company thing. I mean, it's awesome that you can just sit around and skim off a couple million a year and just live your life. I was just like, yeah, that's great. That's totally what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like Flashbangs, our total gross revenue has been like $500 and something thousand over 7 years with 6 people. And if you do that math, it spreads out awful fucking thin.
Do you guys know of any rich indies, like indies that
are secretly
rich? Yeah, well, no, that either started rich or that got rich off a game that then went on to make another really great game?
Not. I mean, a lot of in my mind, all the early indies, like the people that were winning the IGF, like 7, 8, 9 years ago, a lot of them just vanished.
Right, right. But winning the IGF is not the same as financial.
Well, yeah, but it's just like the indies that have been around. There are a couple indies that are not even TIG-source indies, but like Indie Gamer Dexterity indies that I think make pretty good livings for themselves just day in and day out. But I think a lot of the recent indies that hit it big, like Braid, World of Goo, I think they're still working on their kind of sophomore.
Sure, yeah, I know that they are, but it's yet to happen, and I think that I'm sure it's. I wouldn't say it's 100% correlation at all, but I think that having a little bit of a fire under your ass, in fact, having a lot of a fire under your ass, really helps to make a great game.
Yeah, no, we've actually had that discussion internally at Indie Fund. It's just like, well, to what degree does financial pressure help? And yeah, someone mentioned Valve in the chat, but like Gabe Newell was like Microsoft employee number 20 or whatever, and had millions of dollars when he started Valve. So I mean, sure, you shouldn't disparage.
Well, but I think that sort of speaks to the question that if he had millions of dollars and then he went and started Valve, he still obviously did really well.
Well, yeah, but it was also that Valve's history of shipping a game when it's done, even if it means years and years and years.
Right. And that's a different class of AD because they have a lot of people. Whereas I'm really talking about sort of more of a 1, 2, 3, 4 man.
Well, yeah, the sort of like the bootstrap indie that makes it big and then does it again. I think that is yet to be seen. But I mean, I think
we're gonna see. I've seen the new projects from the current rich indies. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the stuff that they're working on. I think I think indie is more of a permanent fixture than it used to be, which is great because a lot of the indies that did, and even like a lot of the indie gamer people like Mike Bay or other people were bought out by PopCap. Or there's actually other indies that were bought out by Big Fish. Even like the Grubby Games guys, they were awesome, and then they're sold out to Big Fish because they had families, and like, their wives were pregnant, and they're like, "Well, I don't want to do this forever." But I don't know if they would have made that decision.
Actually, Ryan actually came to his randomly. He's Canadian, but randomly a friend of his wanted to have a bachelor party in San Diego.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I actually went out with them. Sort of was like their Sherpa, their bachelor party Sherpa. Yeah, and I got the sense for him. I certainly wouldn't say that he's looking to leave Big Fish at all, but he certainly still has that fire that he would like to be doing his own games still. Certainly, I guess the question is, now that he has money and a family, is he going to have the motivation to actually do it?
Yeah, and I actually think that some of the indies that were selling out for security reasons that did it 5 years ago might not have done it in today's climate. Like, what people forget is that like 6, 7, 8 years ago, the notion of being successful as an indie was a completely open question.
Right. Well, it was all in the casual market back then.
Yeah. It's like if your game wasn't doing well, and like the real arcade client of all places was the predominant sort of numbers, and yeah, like Grubby was kind of an anomaly because they were making like hardcore puzzle games, like Professor Fizzwizzle, which was in the IGF years ago, and probably the average Kickstarter would be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
It was 2006. It was the same year I had one in.
Nice. Yeah, I actually think we were.
That was the year Darwinia won.
Oh yeah, and they said they're fuck publishers and.
Yeah. I remember watching that.
Yeah, I was drunk in the audience every IGF up until the IGF when we were actually up on stage running the show. But yeah, we had 2 games in the IGF years and years and years ago, and then Reagan hated on us because we were casual. That was my first experience with Reagan. But anyway, it's been an hour, so I'm gonna wrap up the actual recording so we can talk more glibly off the record about other things. I don't have my list in front of me, but you're listening to TIGRadio. If you want to follow us when we do guest announcements, facebook.com/TIGRadio, twitter.com/TIGRadio. If you would like to either be a guest or interview a guest, so if you want to actually run the interview, we've done that before. Just email us, hello@tigradio.com, or contact us. Website is by Kyle Pulver. Theme song by Denny Baranowski. TIGRadio is hosted by Matthew Wagner, Ben Reese, and Tommy Reffinez. Thanks to our special guest, Andy Schatz. You can check out Monaco, monacoismine.com or facebook.com/monacoismine. And TIGRadio is proudly sponsored by absolutely no one. See you next week, probably.